Hi friends, it's Jamie with Self-Made Manicure and welcome to my first video in my 7-part series, My Guide to Reverse Stamping. In this one, we're going to talk about the essential tools that you need to create reverse stamp designs like this one, or, any designs that you want to create with reverse stamping. Reverse stamping basically just refers to this kind of like coloring book or painted image. A lot of people who see these think that I've painted them. I did not paint them, and I'll be showing you how I take things like this image here and get it off of this etched plate and onto my nails. I do use a lot of different tools, and I'm going to walk you through step by step. I think that it makes a really big difference to have all of these up front because it just gives you that capacity to really produce that kind of intricate, clean, detailed images. The first thing that you are going to want is something to protect your workspace. I've got a silicone mat that I bought from Amazon that's a large one that covers my table, and then over the top of that I've got the Maniology Lotus mat. That helps make sure that if anything spills, it's kept contained. But I also have a habit of putting down takeout napkins that I get, and you can see here that when they start getting used, it keeps a lot off of the mat. So I would suggest that you, get either paper towels or just start hoarding all the napkins that come with takeout so that you can keep all of that clean. Because again, when your workspace stays clean, your fingers stay clean, and then as a result, there's less to deal with later, so that at the end of it, you don't have as much of a mess. Definitely makes a difference. All right, in addition to that, obviously, you're gonna need some kind of nail stamping plate. This one that I've got here is Maniology 127. That's the plate that I used to create this design. You're gonna need, in addition to that, a scraper. This is my favorite one. It's about the size of a credit card. There are other scrapers that Maniology creates that are little, like this one, for example. I find that just harder to grip. I don't know. Some people prefer that, but for me, I just feel like that larger size is my preference. After you do it a bit, you develop your own preferences about what you like, but the scraper does definitely make a difference. So play around with different ones, try a mini scraper, try the bigger one, and just see what's best for you. You will also need stampers. This is an example of the one that came with Maniology's Halloween Advent box, little box of horrors, and of course I've already gotten stuff on the back of it. This kind of stamper is called a Monocle Stamper, and the benefit of it is that the surface of it is very squishy, and I like that because I've got deep C curves on my nails, and so for me to be able to get the design to transfer when I'm pressing it down, the squishier the stamper, the more it rolls over the surface of the nail and allows you to get into those really tight corners. There are other stampers that are called ice cube stampers, these kinds of square ones. And now you can see here that I got this off of Beauty Big Bang. These were cheap, and they were cheap, and I actually don't use them because I'll show you in a bit. I don't like them. They really don't work as well. This is a tried and true one that I got from Maniology. It's very loved. And by loved, you can see it's had acetone spilled on the cover, and there's some other, dirty spots with that. But the thing is that even in the condition that it's in here, this still stamps way better than the Beauty Big Bang. And when you put them side by side and you're trying to pick up an intricate detail, like this, the transfer with Maniology's ice cube stampers is just so much better. So, in the beginning, when you're amassing all of the tools, you're looking for ways to cut costs, but honestly, you don't want to cut costs when it comes to the stamper because that is just one of the most important aspects of what you need to produce the design. Because if you have a cheap stamper, it's not going to pick up, and then once you try to transfer it onto your nails, all of those outlines, what I have here with black, they're going to be with gaps, and it's just not going to have that same kind of crisp quality. It's going to look more like a Xerox of a Xerox of a photocopied piece of paper. So if you don't have a good stamper, that can lead to problems down the road. After you have your stamper and your scraper, you're going to need stamping polish. A lot of people ask in the Maniology community, you know, can I use regular nail polish? And some of them you can, but the thing is that, like, for example, here I've got an OPI black onyx and then a Maniology stamping polish, and I'll just show you the difference between these two things of how they pick up. Okay, so we'll just try here. You can see the difference with them. All right, this is the Maniology stamping polish. Let me take, we're gonna clean this. So here I'm showing you some other tools, a cotton ball grabber, which keeps your hands clean. And then I love having this little acetone pump bottle that dispenses. This is absolutely on my list because, again, it keeps your fingers clean. And if you don't want to mess up your nails, like if you're doing nails for your friend or something like that, you don't want to just have your hands in all of that. Okay, so cotton balls, also put that on your shopping list, and some kind of grabber like that. All right, now if I do another one, here, I'll just use this, right? Like, because I was saying before, it doesn't work quite the same. And this is the OPI black onyx, right? A regular kind of nail polish. Okay. So here, side by side, you can see the difference in the intensity. This here is Maniology Sticky Black on the left. And here we've got a regular polish. It's the same design, right? The stamps look the same, but they don't behave the same way. And then, you know, yeah, you could stamp with a regular polish, but you're not necessarily going to have the same clarity in the detail of the image. And you can see here that, like, the lines are just really clean. They're connected to each other. Here, you can see there's a bit of sacrifice with the image quality. So getting some stamping polishes is absolutely going to make your work look better. I use a lot of black or dark colors like that. Those are really my favorites. When I'm actually filling in the design, like here with the grays and the white that I used in there, that is where I used a combination of regular nail polishes. And in fact, one of the grays that I used in here was the Zoya Dove. And that's just a regular nail polish. And when you're doing the reverse stamping and you're coloring in that image on there, it's okay to use some regular polishes for that. It's not necessary to use stamping polish for everything that you put on here. But when you're doing the outline, you really want to make sure that you've got a quality stamping polish for that, because the image is just going to look so much better. Once you get your image transferred, the next tools that you're going to need are, you know, the polish colors of whatever you want to fill in. Glitters, iridescent, sheer, jelly, you know, all kinds of things can be used to color in the image. And I paint it in, not using a brush, but this is actually Maniology's set of dotting tools. And my favorite, and the one that I used a lot for very small images, is this particular one. I don't always use the brushes so much, but that dotting tool at the end allows you to pick up a really tiny little dot of polish and then get it in the spot where you want it to be. So for example, this is what I did like a week ago when I did this design, is I got some polish on here, and people will tell you that you need to have a resin plate or some kind of mixing plate. Sometimes people will take out the polish and they'll put it, you know, on their silicone mat. I'm not a fan of putting it on my silicone mat, even though of course you can, but the reason why I don't like doing it is because, one, it dries out and I feel like I'm wasting the polish a bit that way. The other thing too is that when you put it onto the mat, now this is like another thing that I have to clean up over here, and so I find that it's just a lot more efficient to open the bottle like I did, you know, give it a little roller shake, and then swipe it like that and just get a little bead on there, and I just leave that over there on the side while I'm doing it. Okay, so that's an example of how much you might want to get on there. This is not the video where I'm going in detail about how to do this, okay? There is going to be another video where I talk about that more later, but just as an example, you can see why you need the dotting tool. So what I would suggest that you do, especially if you love these kinds of intricate, very detailed designs, like I'm super obsessed with these, you're gonna want a really small dotting tool. So it's hard, especially when you're ordering online. You're like, well, you know, how big is it? What size do I actually need? And that's the reason why I really love the Maniology kit that it came with, because when I started buying these things like a year ago, I really didn't know what I needed, and Maniology made great choices in terms of putting together a set of brushes that have been really useful, and then the dotting tools that come in here are a bunch of different sizes. So this is another one that I use all the time just because it's so tiny, but it ranges also in size. It goes up to some really big bulky ones, and that, if you use it to fill in an image, is going to bloop in a bunch of polish and fill in larger areas quicker. So, whoops, sorry about that. So yeah, highly recommend that you get that kind of brush kit, dotting tool kit. You're going to want something like that. Okay. That's going to help you get the polish on there. Now, tools that you need, the essentials that you need to get this off of there onto your fingernail. Like I said, this is a long shopping list, but if you get these things, it's going to make such a big difference. Sticky base coat is something that you are going to want to have on hand. You could also maybe use an Orly rubberized bonder, but the sticky base coat works super well, and it's going to help grab the image. So if you prep your nails, like let's say that you do the base coat blue color one day, you don't have time that night or that day to finish transferring the design on, but your polish dries, the blue dries, all that background color dries. A couple hours later or the next day, when you go to transfer this image, like what's going to happen is that it's not going to transfer. See how like right now, like on my thumb, it's not coming off. And so then you're frustrated because it's stuck on your stamper. So by using sticky base coat, if you paint some on, and you give it about 30 seconds, again, you know, we'll go in detail on this later in another video of how to transfer this, but what this will allow you to do is get the image off of the stamper and onto your fingernail. I'm gonna pause the video for a sec. Okay, I let this dry a little bit, and now you'll notice, I didn't do this very professionally, obviously, but what you're gonna see how now that grabs it? Okay, that's why you need sticky base coat. So I love the one from Maniology. I think that it works really well. They've got it formulated to go with their polishes. And I would say if you want excellent results using Maniology stamping polishes, you should get the sticky base coat from them, because in the Maniology Facebook community, we're always talking about how certain base coats or top coats react with other companies' formulas. There's a lot of chemistry involved in nail polish creation, and when you just look at the bottle, you have no idea necessarily if what you're getting is going to go with something else, but Maniology products work really well together, so you're not going to end up with any issues there. Okay, so sticky base coat will help you get that image onto your nail. Sorry, I just paused the video to take that off because that was just really gonna bug me, so I just removed that. Okay, once it's on your nail, you are going to get it coated in the smudge-free top coat. This is another thing that I strongly recommend, and in a video on this playlist for my guide to reverse stamping, I'll show you how I apply that and don't get any smears. And I'll show you, you know, what it looks like if you drag the brush through it. You can end up with a lot of sad little lines. Again, the smudge-free top coat is a really important thing to invest in because, like, I remember the first time that I was reverse stamping, I did this super cute mermaid. I was so excited about it. It was this one, and I worked so hard to get her looking really adorable and like filled in, and it looked so good. And I got her on my nail, and I was so excited about that. And I didn't have the smudge-free top coat yet because I was like, I don't need it. I'll just do it without it. I'm gonna like save money. And so what I did is I used China Glaze Fast Forward top coat, and this just like melted my mermaid, and she looked like a little zombie that it was just really sad. So, you know, again, there's chemistry involved in this stuff. You can't just use any top coat that you want with these things and just have it work out perfectly. So the smudge-free top coat is gonna allow you to get a sealed layer down so that on top of that, you can follow up with a top coat that's gonna last. One of the ones that I use a lot is the Holo Taco Super Glossy Taco. This has toluene, so you may not want that, but there is also the Glossy Taco, which doesn't have toluene. It's a healthier alternative. It lasts really great, and this is a good combination that I use a lot without any problems. I also have used many times Static Nails top coat, which is great, and I you know, strongly encourage you, if you've got the option, to use that one. That works really well also. So this is another really good combination. Way back in the day when I was still getting stuff at Target, I got this Essie No Chips Ahead, and those also work together. I kind of just stopped using this because it got really gummy. So there's nothing wrong with this per se. You know, it's just getting a little hard to open. Okay, you can also later follow up with a matte top coat if you want something like that. When I use matte, I normally do it over a top coat, like one of these, either the Essie or the Holo Taco, over this one. So sometimes I've got like 3 layers of top coats on, but it makes it last. So, you know, that's definitely a good thing. Okay. When you get an image on, one of the things that's going to happen is that you're going to have the image spread out usually around your nail, especially when you have these kinds of large images that extend beyond your nail area. You are going to have stuff that gets onto your skin. So what you may want to invest in, I would suggest, is some kind of barrier product. And Maniology makes this guy, the Mani Mask, which if you have really dry skin, I don't think it's going to work very well for you. My friend has super dry skin and a bunch of like hangnails around her cuticles and stuff like that. And we really struggled with this. It was like we could apply it, but then we couldn't get it off. So if you have drier skin, what I'm going to suggest that you want to do, instead of using a kind of a mask, which you know theoretically can peel off, instead what you can do is use Scotch tape, which you're going to need this too, and you can lay down tape around the perimeter of your nail, like what I'm showing you here. And so by doing that, well, actually, let me show you on another finger, because I feel like it'll make more sense. Like, for example, this one, when I did this, you can see how big the image is, right? Like, there was this whole like circle thing that kind of like went over here. So when I had it on the stamper and I was transferring it, it was a really large image that extended. So to keep that from like going everywhere and then making my life sad because I have to clean up all that stuff later so that it looks clean, what you can do is put Scotch tape down like this. Some people also use Elmer's glue, but that takes a really long time to dry. And honestly, the tape trick is genius. So I would say grab some Scotch tape, put it in your nail kit so that it's just nearby, because you're definitely going to want Scotch tape. I think it's an excellent barrier. And at least this way, even though there may be a tiny little bit of skin showing, it's much less than if you just have the whole thing exposed like that. The other reason why you are going to want some kind of tape is because it allows you to edit your designs. This is a weird example, but let's say here that you're like, oh, there's this stuff over here, you don't want that. So you can edit and remove portions of the stamped image here like this, and you can eventually practice and get pretty good at going in there and like removing tiny little things in the middle of something else if you decide that you don't want that. So with practice, tape ends up being really useful. You could fold it into different directions, whatever. We'll get into that later, but you need tape. Okay, make sure that you've got some tape. Okay, also around the finger area, another thing that is super useful to have on hand is going to be a cuticle pusher. This is Maniology's little cuticle pusher, and it's really nice, first of all, because it allows you to get back in there and clean up your cuticles so that you have a beautiful canvas that has maximum real estate. That's my dog. Okay, he's protecting us right now. So the cuticle pusher is going to be something that you'll want just to clean up your cuticles, obviously, but also in the process of transferring designs where sometimes the design lays outside the width of your nail, you can use a cuticle pusher like this to press and, like, I don't want to say cut, because you're not really cutting, but it's almost like if you have a cookie dough and a cookie cutter, you can get the shape that you want. So I used this same tool here around the edges when I was removing this and cleaning it up to get this really close, tight design there. Ta-da! Make sure that you have one of these little guys. You also may just want to have some orange sticks on hand. I have everything in my cart. I'm not saying it because you're not seeing it here, but a cart is a really great idea just for organizing all this stuff, because it does end up being a bunch of things, and you need a place where you can just sort of put all of it. Okay, so orange sticks are good to have as well. The other thing that you may want, I strongly suggest if you've got, this anyway for your cuticle care, are some nippers. Again, the thing that you can do with the nippers, if the design is not being cooperative, and if you're not able to use this to press the excess around the edges, cuticle nippers are a great way to get in there and just like clean up anything that is large that's off your nail bed. This is not a great design to show that sort of thing, so you might be thinking, oh, I'm not going to need it, but really, trust me when I say this, you're going to want something like this, some kind of nippers, little teeny scissors or something like that, at the very least, so that you can really clean up tight around the edges with stuff and get very precise little cuts. Okay, I think I told you that you definitely need some sort of like acetone pumper. That is going to make your life way better. And then this little guy so that you can get it saturated without touching it and then clean it up, because again, you can have a zombie mermaid melting off your fingers like I did if you end up getting acetone on it while you're in the process of creating it. It's a sad day. You don't want it to. So for sure, you want that kind of grabber. And also, what you are going to want is some kind of little shot glass, or if you've got a nail supply store nearby, one of these little baby raccoon shot glasses that you can fill up with acetone. You're going to want that because there will be times while you are painting your image, putting all the different color polishes onto your image, that you will have a gunked up dotting tool. And at a certain point, you need to be able to clean it. And even though I often will just like wipe my dotting tool on this, after a certain point, it gets gunked up and you need to be able to clean it. You don't want to open this up, unscrew this, risk spilling it everywhere, because I did that before and it's super annoying when in the middle of your nail art project you've got a whole mess with acetone that you have to start cleaning up. So what's much better is if you can have a little dipper that you can pour some into, and it's low, you're not going to knock it over and have a bunch of problems. And if you do, it's also quite a small amount of acetone to have spill onto the silicone mat, so you'll only be cursing a mild amount. So you can get that in there, and then that will clean it off, and then you wipe your dotting tool on here. So that is the last thing that I would suggest is going to make your life so much easier. I know that that seemed like a lot in terms of the shopping list, but these are the things that I use to make this kind of art. And like I said, the more of those things that you have on hand, the faster you're going to accelerate through your own learning curve and get to the point where you're making really beautiful art that people think is, you know, hand painted or stickers or something like that. All right, let's keep going in the next video with how to stamp the image, get the image off the plate onto the stamps. Oops, I just remembered a couple other things. You want to make sure that you've got some kind of tiny trash thing. I use silicone muffin cups for this. My mom was horrified because she was like, we're never going to be able to bake in those. I was like, nope, doesn't matter. So I use that here just to keep my workspace clean like that. It allows you to just put all the gunky little bits, and like as you're cutting cuticle or as you're cutting extra crap for, you know, the edges of all of that stuff, you can do that over the little trash receptacle, and it will again keep your workspace neater so that later when you are at the point of needing to do cleanup, you're not going to be touching all of those little things, because little bits of polish will get stuck to you and you want somewhere that you can put that to just keep it tidy and organized. The other thing which I forgot to say, which is important and you are also going to want, is some kind of pair of tweezers. I've got 3 here. They're you know, very different from each other. These ones that I got off Maniology's website are awesome, and I would highly recommend them. And the reason why is because they pick up very small little things with almost no purchase on them. You can pick up stuff. And the best part about it is that it will hold it even if you do not. And what I had before this, I was using primarily like these tiny little tweezers, and when your nails are wet and you're trying to grab something, it's annoying to grab something that's tiny. Even this larger pair of tweezers can be frustrating, and really, yeah, the best thing about this is that this continues grabbing even if you set it down. So you can prep stuff, get ready. Actually, I mean, you could use this even if you wanted to for cleaning your plate. So if you're looking for ways to save money, you know, instead of going searching for a cotton ball grabber, you could just use this, because that would double as a cotton ball grabber. And when you need to, it's gonna grip little tiny things. Whereas this does not pick up, you know, all manner of tiny objects. Okay, and one other thing, which I forgot to say that you're gonna want, is some kind of cleanup brush. I use, again, of course, like basically all Maniology money. They have all my money. You're gonna want a cleanup brush to go around the edges. So the difference with the cleanup brush is that you use it at the end when you're cleaning up around your cuticles and that. The brush is tapered in a particular way so that you're able to get into smaller little spots. It holds more acetone compared to the other brushes, right? So like if we look at the ones that come in the kit, you'll see that of the assortment that Maniology sends, or what you may find in other kits, is that this cleanup brush is shaped very differently from the other ones. This one is for very fine line work. You know, you can paint in various ways with these, dab it on here with that. But honestly, these brushes don't hold the same amount of acetone that like this little guy is gonna do. And the fact that that is tapered in this way, like what I'm showing you there, makes it much better suited for, you know, getting into that kind of groove on your sidewalls or around the back. So you want something that is gonna allow you to clean that up. Okay, now we're done with the video.